I mean,
Oh, I forgot. This is how I'm communicating with you from here on out.
oh, please. Thank you. Brown, 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 brown. Ba-na, ba-na, ba-na.
That was Hello Pat. How are you today? In case you didn't
Good.
understand.
Good. I saw that and I was like, oh, this just feels like how musicians communicate with each other.
It's important. It's important that you know how to talk that way.
I just love the end when he runs out and there's they set up the other amp out there just for him to go, hey Luke, where are you going? And then they just cut to them driving down the highway playing. Oh. A good job. A good job by all. Oh man. All right.
I'll give Mudhoney credit. I really am interested in a lot of their album titles. Like My Brother the Cow or Since We've Become Translucent, which is a super interesting clause to start a sentence with.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to know what has happened since we've become translucent.
Under a billion suns, also known as just disintegration.
It's a lot of suns.
I've been disintegrated.
Yes.
Digital Garbage, which
probably was
based on the year it came out, and
it was probably digital garbage.
Afterwards, it was probably digital.
I mean, unless they're like one of those groups that's like analog garbage.
Honestly, it could be. I don't know. I'm just glad that because when you look at just their discography on their main page, it starts with Super Fuzz Big Muff.
Yeah, and
so I
think it came out in the same year as their eponymous debut.
It was 88, 89,
but it was it was an EP.
It's called an EP.
But then it was maybe the EP also with a bunch of other singles. Okay, it was initially 6 songs.
Yeah.
So it was a real P that was Super Fuzz Big Muff, but then the CD release included like a couple of covers and other singles and so they turned it into a full-length CD afterwards.
Yep, which I was super happy that I read it before I started listening.
Yeah,
because you said Piece of Cake was the middle album, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start at the beginning. I looked up their Wikipedia, I typed in Super Fuzz Big Muff, and they only had the extended edition, which was like 2 hours long, and I'm like, whenever I see that, I go, wait, let me go on the Wikipedia and look up the actual track listing, and I'm just going to listen to those songs.
I do the same thing.
So then I look at it and I see it's an EP. I'm like, I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go to Mudhoney. And it was the right choice.
It was.
All right.
Okay. Oh, right. I should probably get Audacity ready. I've forgotten how to do this.
It's been a while, man. Yeah. It's been a while. And I'll tell you
We're not even covering Stained.
But are we on the outside?
Well,
are we third Stained song?
Yeah. No, I don't know that one.
I know 3 Stained songs, and I do. I know. Outside. I know the one we just said that it's been a while. And then there's one called Tangled Up in You.
Okay. Is that like a slightly wrong Bob Dylan cover?
No, I had to learn it for a wedding.
Oh, okay.
That I was at. And then it became kind of...
That I was at.
Like a de facto song. Yeah, that happens.
I made an appearance there. No one was prepared. I just wandered in.
Whenever I go to... and this was like 10 or 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. It was a long time. But like people just want me to sing at things like
sing a song. Yeah.
Seriously, dude, the amount of absolute telling people no to me singing at my own wedding,
sure,
like constant throughout the night, and then I still sang because they got me double digit gin and tonics deep, and then they put on Don't Stop Believin' and handed me a microphone, and I sang it in key.
It's honestly a miracle that all that exertion didn't lead to like projectile vomit onto the microphone.
dude.
Because I know that if it was me exerting all that energy after double-digit gin and tonics,
It was double-digit G&Ts, and I was dancing all night.
can't do that.
I
See, I have to go
neither
to
can
a
I.
wedding and say, like, is this going to be a wedding where I have more than 2 drinks, or is this going to be a wedding where I dance? And like, uh, there's not a crossover between the two that ends with anything other than throwing up.
See,
So
what's happening is even though we're the same age, although you're 17 days older than me,
that's true.
just to be clear to the world,
Yeah.
since I'm like getting more svelte,
Mhm.
my energy levels are just like so much more than I'm used to having. So
Mhm.
dancing doesn't feel like a crazy thing for me anymore.
Yeah, but a lot less alcohol is going to start to become a lot more of a problem.
You're telling me, dude. You're
Uh-huh.
telling me. 11 gin and tonic. I told you what happened after the wedding, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I had 11 gin and tonics, roughly.
Right.
Maybe
Approximately.
I lost count. I
Yeah.
just kept having them in my hand. I think it was about 11 though. It was definitely more than 10 because I remember telling somebody this is my 10th drink. So then we go back up to the room, and her parents are there, and like her like the bridal parties like helped us carry like the gifts that we got and like stuff that we wanted to unload from the venue and just put in our room.
Yeah.
And then her dad walks into my room with a bottle of Johnny
Yes.
Walker Blue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pours me 4 fingers of scotch. I'm like, okay, we got this.
Yeah,
We're
I
living
would
the
have
easy
taken a
life
few
now.
sips of it, but I would not have finished that.
I mean, it was Johnny Walker Blue. You got to finish it. You can't not finish it.
I respect you for doing it. But I know my body, and my body knows when it's going to like literally pass out and start throwing up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I try not to get there too often.
I'll tell you what. Easy way that I knew that they were actually giving us top shelf all night. I was not hungover.
That helps.
I was not
helps.
hungover, and I was like,
It's
I
a
should be
miracle.
hungover.
It's still a miracle. You had 10
Yeah.
or 11 gins and then switched to whiskey.
Yeah, I didn't have any of the margarita though.
Did you have a lot of this?
Oh, I was drinking water all night.
That's
Yeah.
good to hear.
Yeah.
And so this guy, 11 gin and tonics, 6 gallons of water, 4 fingers of whiskey, didn't pee.
Didn't pee. I literally don't know what the bathrooms looked like at our venue.
I would have been there half the time.
I know. I actually almost, when we did our tour of the venue, I almost purposely went into the bathroom because I knew I would not go
Never
see
see
what
it.
it looked like on the day. And because for me, what it turns into, especially when I'm in like a full suit with like a vest,
It's a lot of work.
I will never put this back on neater if I take it off with any alcohol in me.
The tuck is never quite the same.
Yeah, and like suspenders and like,
yeah.
I'd rather just have to pee if I need to pee. So I did pee when I went back to the hotel room.
That's good.
Yeah, there was a pee that happened
for like 3 minutes.
It was a while.
Yeah,
it was a decent length of pee, but I did sweat out a lot. I mean, I did a lot of dancing.
That's fair.
I was like in the top 5 dancers of the party.
That's
in terms of
where you want to
be.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah, it was very surprised. I danced more than Sydney.
Hey, you know,
Sydney
when
specifically said to me,
you.
Yeah, she specifically said to me like, "You're gonna dance, right? Like you're not gonna leave me dancing by myself." And I'm like, "I'm gonna dance. Yeah. It's my wedding. I'm gonna dance."
Fuck yeah.
And then sure enough, I'm the one being like, "What are you doing? Let's dance. It's not my fault you didn't bring other shoes. Let's go."
Oh, did they not have flip-flops?
I think some people switched to flats. I think Sydney was just wearing flats.
Oh, okay. Well,
she was just wearing like very nice flats because like, you know, I'm short.
That's true.
Although I was
I would never say a word about it to you though.
Listen, I was a full head taller than our rabbi. Very nice guy, Rabbi Cutler. But he was like,
could be you one of these days. You lived long enough.
No, it was Jay Cutler. It was Rabbi
How
Jay
many
Cutler.
interceptions did he throw during the?
Oh, 6 or 7, easy.
At least. Did he quit at some point and just like sit on the sidelines, pretend to be injured?
No, that was the other rabbi that we
Oh,
had to
that's
then
right,
replace
that's
with Rabbi Cutler.
All right, we should probably do this.
I know, right? All right. I'm ready.
I'm ready. 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, why you wanna listen to Totem Talks? Yeah, it's a surefire way to pod some cast, even though it's kind of rough.
The whole time, I was desperate to come in on the harmony, but I was like, I don't know what words he's going to say. So it's going to sound very bad.
And honestly, that's fair.
Yeah.
It could have.
But I liked it. That was a great intro. It was everything I was hoping for.
Thank you. I legitimately was concerned that I was not going to remember how that went, because that's the only part of.
I've seen you not know how that goes before.
It's the only part of the song I can remember.
The rest of it's very difficult and fast.
Yeah, well, it's one of those songs where everybody requests it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Oh, can you play like Blues Traveler, or can you play Run Around Her Hook?" And I'm like, I can sing the chorus of one, and then there's so many words in that song.
And I'm like, I feel more confident in the words than you do, but I'm also not a tenor.
Yeah.
And so then we like hit an impasse.
It's tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's one, like, realistically, you have to memorize.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
It takes
you have to memorize it. And
at least certain parts you have to.
Yeah.
know.
You have to memorize it. To really get all those words, because there's so many words. And I'll be honest with you, it's a good song. It's not worth that effort to me. Like, there are some songs that are worth the effort to, like, memorize and perform. We've done them. Like, we do a few of them. Like Radar Love, like, that's one that I have, like, down, even though I still have I don't need it. I just have it for my own little blanket. But, like, we performed it at that contest, and I didn't use the words. And, like, we have a chunk of them where it's, like, worth that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, it's a good song.
I know what you're saying.
You know.
All right. Well, anyway.
Anyway, that was
But anyway, okay, that was another one. I see what I did there.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Totem Talks. Kind of. We're in the half seasons. We're
It still counts. It's canon.
We're in the weeds here. That is true. It is canon. We are in season 7.5. 7.5. This is episode 1.
That's right.
And we're starting now. Nick, why don't you remind our lovely listeners what the theme of our half season is this time
I would love to. So basically for this half season, which will be 4 episodes, we are looking exclusively at artists who were in some way or another at their peak in the 90s. Obviously, we know well enough by now that most artists are around for a longer period of time. But these are artists who were at their most popular, released their biggest albums, had like the bulk of their releases in the 1990s.
Yeah.
But they span a lot of different genres. So, like, you don't really know what's coming other than 1990s.
Which honestly is great. Yeah. So far in our episode listening, the big album from these two artists was both in the 90s. So
yes. Oh, for sure.
We're vibing so far.
Yes.
But
and I have an idea. Can I pitch an idea to you live just here on this episode?
I would love it.
So everybody knows who listens frequently. So both the two of us, you and I, that I plan well in ahead, because I like just thinking of matchups and putting the artists together. It's something to do.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing a season, because we have half seasons that fit certain themes, but I was thinking about doing a theme for an entire season. Because it's something that I think we could easily get 25 episodes out of. It's something we haven't really dipped our toes into yet, but starting in season 8, we will be doing some episodes.
Okay.
and it's Totem Talks International. So every one of the episodes, since the vast majority of all the like quote unquote Western music that we listen to and cover for this comes from artists who are from the United States or Great Britain, we would exclusively do a season of 25 matchups of 50 artists from somewhere that's not there. We would cover artists from different countries through Europe, Africa, Asia, South America. Just not I'll say not US, Canada, UK, Australia.
Okay.
Those 4 would be out, but everything else is fair game. And we
I'm
would
interested.
base the matchups on the country that they're from. So 2 French artists,
Yeah.
2 Nigerian artists, 2 Brazilian artists.
I mean, it's very unfortunate for the French artist going up against Yannick Noah, because Yannick Noah will
right, of course,
crush
not
the competition.
Like Halliday or like someone else who sold like 75 million records or something.
No, it's Yannick Noah, father of Joachim Noah.
That makes the most sense.
If you asked me to name and sing a song in French, the only one that's coming out of my mouth is Le Lion by Yannick Noah.
Okay. I mean,
it's the one. That's not true. I could sing La Vie en Rose, but I don't think that counts. I mean, that's like a standard.
Sure. But also a lot of these groups do songs that are in English too.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, not all of them will be, but some of them would be in English. But that's something that I'm considering making one of our seasons as like Totem Talks goes on an international tour and we check out bands and artists from around the world, because I'm making a concerted. Yes, exactly. I'm making a concerted effort to expand the things that we listen to now that we've given up on anyone wanting to listen to this but us, and having it be more of like a personal journey of our learning about music.
I mean,
like that's something that
chance.
Sure, but that's something that really interests me personally, is I like exploring music that is like just totally different.
I'm not against it.
Okay.
I'm not against it.
I just wanted to put it out in the universe.
Like I said, Yannick Noah.
That's where we'd start.
Everybody should go listen to Les Lions by Yannick Noah.
I'm on my way now.
All
right. Get us started with this episode now.
Anyway.
I've done what I needed to do.
Thank you all for tuning in. Welcome back. If you are listening not live, who are you? How did you find us?
What?
If you are listening live, hello, Nick.
Yeah. Hey, Pat.
But otherwise, that's Nick. I'm Pat. We're Totem Talks. We're just 2 guys having fun, listening to music, critiquing it in our own unique way.
That's right.
Doing our best to discover through the vast annals of music history the greatest artist of all time.
That's right.
And the real question that I ask every time.
No.
Nick, did we find
I'm sorry.
today?
I answered. No.
We didn't.
Although I will not spoil, but I have a clear winner.
I mean,
for me personally,
I think most people's ears have a clear winner of the day. Yeah. But we'll discuss.
We will.
Before we get too far into it, Nick, why don't you tell us who we're covering today?
Of course. So today, our 2 90s acts are what I can't decide. Are they punge or are they grunk?
I think grunk is...
Grunk
better.
Doesn't immediately sound like pungent.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, the reason I'm going to say grunk is because they're from Seattle.
Yeah, obviously.
And so therefore grunge has to come first.
Okay, fair enough. So the grunge punk outfit Mudhoney is going up against the jam band adjacent space band Blues Traveler.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. A full-on clash of titans here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get started with Mudhoney. So Mudhoney is an American rock band formed, as I mentioned, in Seattle, Washington. And it literally on January 1st, 1988. They gave the day of the formation of this band.
That's
and
nice.
They are still active today.
Good for them.
They're just continuing on. And we covered 3 albums. we started with, after some discussion, the eponymous debut, Mudhoney, which came out in 1989. The discussion was skipping over the EP Super Fuzz Big Muff,
Yes.
which would have been fun to talk about the name,
It would have.
but also now you've heard the name anyway.
That's true.
We followed up Mudhoney with Piece of Cake, which came out in 1992, just like we did.
That's right.
We are very similar to Mudhoney in that we were also born in 1992
You're right.
as a Piece of Cake. And then we wrapped up Mudhoney with Plastic Eternity, which came out in 2023, which is a year I wouldn't have expected a grunge band from the late 80s, early 90s to be releasing music still.
I would agree.
And if you told me they were releasing music, I certainly would not have expected it to still be grunge.
Grunk, to be clear. Like, there's so much punk to it that it's hard to just
I don't know if you would. I don't know
that.
about Plastic Eternity, though, if it's still grunge.
Okay.
I think that one softened into grunge.
The first part of their discography are very grunk.
Yeah, very grunkified. Now, I'll start us talking here with the album Mudhoney. And here's what I'll tell you. It's grunk, but it's like garage grunk.
Yeah, I would agree.
And it's bad. It's bad. It's not well performed in the way that a lot of punk is not well performed, because that's not the point of it.
Yeah, exactly.
However, on top of that, it's lyrically bad and sung bad and not original sounding. So it's kind of just like the worst of every world of the genres that it comes from.
Right.
I can't give you a recommended song on this album because I spent 37 minutes wishing it was over.
Yeah. I mean,
and here's the thing. For anybody who is not aware, we took about 5 or 6 weeks off in between the episodes and the half season here. Just taking a little break, a little breather. I got married. We had a break for that. So I was excited to come back and listen to music. So I was in like maybe the best headspace I could be in to listen to this. And I still have no recommendations except maybe don't listen to Mudhoney.
It's a good recommendation. So I mean, I don't have a ton to add, but what kind of struck me about this record was it's the kind of like super sloppy and scuzzy and dirty and angry sounding music the critics usually just fawn over completely. And in that respect, it did solidly. I mean, it did average to good in terms of the critical reviews of this album, which I'm surprised it's not even better. Just because it just strikes me as the kind of music
as critical darling.
Critical darling, because critics love just like
super pavement vibes.
Yeah, like people who can't really play instruments screaming angrily. Usually it's like a good thing to them, and people who like know what they're doing and like writing difficult and interesting music, they don't like that at all.
I just feel like even with that, the lyrics aren't good. So it's not even like there's nothing to cling to here for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I didn't enjoy them. But yeah, this album I didn't like it, and I will never listen to it again. So I'm gonna go on to Piece of Cake. And this album similarly did like okay, and in some places like decently, critically. And it starts on this 38-second track, and there are several of these like untitled short tracks in the middle of this, where it almost sounded like it was maybe like a satire or parody of like 90s dance music.
Oh, really? There's like, one very like specific sound that happens in there that I thought you'd get.
But I'm saying like it's like the beginnings of this era of like 90s dance music, but like it's thrown in there in a way that feels like it's a joke. like they're maybe making fun of the culture of dance music.
Sure.
And I'll tell you this. If this is a band who wanted sloppy and dirty and scuzzy and angry to be their identity, they're right on. They haven't lost it. It is it's full of rage and frustration. I really didn't enjoy it at all sonically. If I was being nice, I would say when they let the grunge influences speak a little bit more, those songs are better. And when they lean into like the punkier side of their sound, it is worse. But that could also just be my preference for genre, because I certainly like grunge a lot more than I like really raw, angry, like fuck you punk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. On the first Mudhoney album, we had a song called Magnolia Caboose Baby Shit,
Which was a cover.
which was a cover.
The original song didn't have baby shit in the title.
Well, that really added a whole level to it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I feel like baby shit kind of adds a whole other aroma, if you will.
Well,
This one, the released single on this album is called Suck You Dry. And it's kind of just about what you think it's about, which was unexpected. But at the same time, it should have been expected. I've been hoping that at any point this band will approach metaphor
yeah, right.
at all, and they just don't. Like I thought one of the things about like punk and grunge both was like the use of metaphor to like kind of evoke visceral reactions in people.
I guess, but I think punk has always been more visceral. Punk has always been more like
punk is a
right
little
in
more
your face, just say it
Yeah.
right the way it is. You don't have to be flowery about it. Like, know how to play two notes and be really bad at them, and don't know how to sing, and just say what's on your mind exactly.
Well, then they're great.
Yeah, I mean it's that aesthetic.
That they're excellent at that. The Untitled One that you were talking about, like very clearly about halfway through it, he does the opening chant of Immigrant Song. He goes, ah. And I was like, wait, do more of that, please.
That I like. That's a good song.
I felt like a person dying of thirst in the desert who was given like a single raindrop.
Yeah.
I was just like, wait, please. I remember other music now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this album is just as bad as the first one. Yeah, that's about it. I keep trying to think of nice things to say and not having them. So I'm just going to move on to Plastic Eternity, which this album does something the other two don't. And that is make me actively laugh out loud at some of the lyrics. There's a couple examples I'll give. There is Human Stock Capital, which we talked about before the podcast. Message-wise, I like very much, like, you know, but in terms of how they're saying it, where it's just like, humans are expendable, human stock capital. It's again, there's no nuance. There's nothing but just like straight up telling you.
Which
like,
I think is a stylistic choice. You know, it's like, it's just something that doesn't.
It's just kind of like beat you over the head with it, kind of a little bit. And it's like, all right, listen, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And still, however, all of that is completely redeemed by the best song on all three albums, the final song on this album, Little Dogs. I did this for Nick off stream, but I have to just give you just a bit of excerpt here of Little Dogs. My phone won't even look it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my phone is trying to save everyone from this, but unfortunately for my phone, I am its master and I
That's
control.
correct.
So, some of the
Little
lyrics.
dogs.
I like little dogs. I like little dogs. Just today I went out for a walk. Guess who came along? That's right. It was a little dog. I love that. Like, okay, sure they get wound up. They're easy to distract. Just pick them up or give them a tasty tiny snack.
It's wholesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then my actual favorite line that I've heard. They make me happy, and I laugh when they howl. If you let them outside at night, watch out for owls.
Yeah, I mean that was really a song.
Yeah, that was a song. It's the only one I'll recommend of Mudhoney's discography.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's a hard recommendation. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Seriously, everybody
least
go
once.
listen to Little Dogs
One
just
time.
once.
Okay, so I will say some of the things that you didn't. I think one of the huge differences, other than the time jump, is this is by far their most slickly produced album. I think one of the big parts of their punk ethos is that nothing sounded all that good on the first two albums. This, at least, it sounds like modern production was involved, and it sounds a lot cleaner. And maybe you could say like it's no longer in that grunk space. It's exploring a little bit more range than just punk to go along with the grunge.
The listed genres are grunge and
Okay.
psychedelic rock.
Interesting. Okay. I still didn't enjoy this record, to be clear. But I think that the overall identity of the band comes through still, despite like the change in production sound. I also give them credit for doing something that I didn't. Well, I guess I knew it was possible already, but it's really hard to take a song that's all about just like hating fascists and make me not like it. And they definitely achieved that really well on this album. So kudos to them. In fact, I will go as far as to say, I mean, lyrics aside, I think a lot of the songs on this album, as opposed to the two former ones, could have been salvaged with like a good singer performing them. Like musically, they could have been salvaged by a good singer instead of a bad singer.
I agree to a point. I think they could have been
like,
more pleasing to
I
the
could
ear.
have listened to this album and been like, yeah, it was fine. Like if there was a good singer, you know what I mean? I would have been like, yeah, it was another one of those whatever albums that I'm not going to remember really, but it wasn't so bad that I, put it in the negative column. It could have been that. Mudhoney could aspire to be one of those bands someday where I'm like, meh.
Yeah, listen, I get it. Here's what I'll tell you. I got to read you just a nice funny quote.
Okay.
Just a nice funny quote. Brooklyn Vegan's Bill Pierce connects this release to the rest of Mudhoney's catalog and opines that Plastic Eternity may not be as essential as Super Fuzz Big Muff or Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge, but it's always good to have them back. And for me, I just love that a critic had to write that sentence. Like, a critic had to legitimately write.
Well, he opined it.
Yeah, he had to opine it.
Yeah.
It just makes me giggle. That's my favorite part about Mudhoney is the names of their albums are
I agree.
Intriguing.
I agree.
And I'll be 100% honest with you, Nick. Completely forgot that we write facts for these. Did not do that even a little bit.
Okay.
I listened to all 6 albums and I wrote some notes on the albums and I was like, I've done my thing.
Yep.
It's been so long.
That's how long
I
it's
completely forgot we did notes.
Hey.
Here's what I'll tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you the unique thing about Mudhoney is that they write bad lyrics. That's pretty unique.
I've never heard an artist do that before.
I like that Mudhoney publicly announces the day they formed as January 1st, 1988.
That was great work by them.
That feels pretty unique. I feel like a lot of bands are like, we got together like around this year, maybe. Yeah. Like, are we even still formed yet?
That's a great point.
If I had to pick a highlight for this band, we're doing this live, man.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
A highlight for this band. I mean, really, they don't really chart well. They don't really sell.
What was good about them? I don't know. Not this, though. Not that either.
I mean, Piece of Cake
Everything
was the album that charted the best, which is why we covered it.
Yes, correct.
Looking at the rest of their stuff, I'm not like, I mean, I don't really see anything. I know they had a member named Matt Lukin who was a former bassist.
And then he stopped knowing how to play the bass, and that's when he joined the band.
Well, he left and then came back. So like that's cool that he did that.
That's great. I'm so glad he came back.
He left again though,
did he get lost?
It didn't stick around.
Oh man.
We'll talk about Lowlight.
Are you just like reading their Wikipedia page and then just whatever the sentence is that's next, you're gonna twist it into whatever you need it to be?
I was just kind of scrolling here. The Lowlight for the band. Other than their discography.
Yeah, that was pretty low.
I would say it's probably the second time Matt Lukin left. I mean, they really.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. They found
them
him finally after all those years. And then again.
Yeah, after a few years of touring, they got cut by Reprise Records.
Okay.
That sucks. That's rough.
Yeah.
And then Matt Lukin left the band again, and then they released March to Fuzz, which was a retrospective compilation album, which also a low light for me that they compiled their hits into one album.
Keep these albums as short as possible, please.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Nicest and Meanest, they seem nice enough politically. I seem to agree with a lot of them.
The messages
I seem to agree with a lot of their messages, just not the way they do it. The meanest thing they did was they opened for Pearl Jam in 2011. So that was mean for everybody who came expecting to hear Pearl Jam.
That's fair, yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's upsetting. If you come expecting to hear Pearl Jam and you got to hear 45 minutes of Mudhoney first, brutal.
Not ideal.
Yeah, so like,
okay,
that's some stuff. 6 Degrees of Totem Talks,
of course.
In 2011, they opened on the 20th anniversary tour for Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, Temple of the Dog.
Well done.
Who needs to write notes?
You really pulled it off. Didn't come across as slapped together at the last minute at all.
I didn't think so either. Thank you for telling me that. I really needed to hear that.
You know who else would really appreciate that? Blues Traveler. So let's cover them.
Oh, man. Totally forgot we wrote notes. As I got to the end of the album, I'm like, I feel like we got through them really quick. Isn't there something else? I'm like, wait, there is something else. You know what? I think we nailed it.
I think so too.
And I mean, just realistically, by comparison, your notes are going to seem super flushed out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to seem like I did a good job.
Hey, man, it's because you did a good job.
I really needed to hear that, actually.
I got your back.
Thank you. You unfortunately did not, and I can't do anything.
Oh, can I tell you, man? Okay. I have to tell you this because I really wanted to do this. If I didn't have so much like personal stuff going on last week, I was my plan was, because I knew I had friends coming to that gig.
Sure.
My plan was to make you give your best man speech just to mess with you. Just to be like, I would just tell the story of what happened and then be like, so Nick owes me a speech. Go ahead. And I was just going to sit down.
I mean, I could have done it.
I know. Oh, I know. It would have been funny. But like literally my entire week was just so bad. I was like, I just want to gig. I just want to sing. It was rough. I just want to sing and like have it be fun and not have not play a prank.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but I really thought about it.
I would have been ready. I would have been caught off guard, but then I would have collected myself. And
I would have expected you to be ready and like
Yeah.
perform it well. I just was like, I knew it would have been hilarious. But yeah, I just had to tell you. All right.
We saw Beetlejuice last night. I'm going to throw that out there.
Oh,
worthwhile.
Really?
Wasn't sure that it would be. We were both extremely skeptical, but we were like, there's never any movies we want to actually see. And we have a movie theater around the corner from our house that's really great. And we just want to use
Arguably the best.
Yeah. So we got a private screening of it because we went at 4:00 and there was not a soul in the building. I mean, it was pretty decently crowded when we saw Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Which I love to see. I want it to do well.
It was worth it. It was good, really good.
But I was surprised at how good Beetlejuice was. Because we were expecting it to be pretty bad and rest, just, I don't know, not really be its own thing. But it was better than expected, and it was worth going to see it.
Well, good to know.
Yeah.
If I have the time,
exactly,
I'll know that I can go and check that out. All right. Wait. Fascinating.
Go on. Are you saving it for when we're?
I mean, I'm wondering if this is going to be your unique fact about this band.
Probably not. So keep it in mind.
I'll keep it in mind. That was a very unique fact that I just read. Okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready. In 3, 2, 1.
Blues Traveler is an American rock band formed in Princeton, New Jersey in 1987, and they're still active to this day. We covered 3 Blues Traveler albums. We started with, thank you very much, another eponymous debut, Blues Traveler,
complete
which came
episode.
out in 1990. We did it. Listen,
this is what we always.
If Mudhoney did nothing else for us, they gave us a double-barreled eponymous debut episode. Thank you for that.
Exactly.
We followed up Blues Traveler with 4, which came out in 1994.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. It also is the 4th album overall in their discography.
Yeah, I guess that could have maybe taken, some consideration for the name.
They're doing their thing. And then we wrapped things up with Traveler's Soul, which came out in 2023.
Yes.
Another band was not expecting to release music in 2023.
Yeah, these bands took similar career trajectories, formed at a very similar time, and stayed together through the present, releasing albums as recently as last year.
And we'll find out our opinion right now.
Okay, so Blues Traveler. It's one of those albums that starts on the best known song from it, which is But Anyway. And I'll tell you, that song, like a lot of songs on this album and in the discography of Blues Traveler in general, they have some great harmonica chops. Like John Popper really knows how to play that instrument, man. He is great at the harmonica. And they groove. I think this band has like a solid rhythm section. They really groove together. It almost to the point where I think like it must have been live recorded. Like I listened to a lot of what's on this record, and I think like the energy that's in the songs, the way that it feels like they're locking in as a drums, bass, rhythm, guitar section. There's like a really improv-y feel to a lot of the solos and the way things come together, which I generally like. And I think this is a good rock album. Like it is definitely jam band adjacent because it has that live improv-y feeling to it, which I really enjoyed. But like for the most part, also the songs are in the 3 to 4 minute range mostly, and they're just like solid rock songs. And this is a band that sounds like themselves. I think that's a compliment we give a lot of groups here. Sometimes it's a detraction. Um, but like they sound like Blues Traveler, and you put on any Blues Traveler song, and I'm gonna be like, oh, is this Blues Traveler? Because like they just have that immediate recognizable quality about their music. And that's my piece.
Yeah, listen, I agree with everything that you're saying there. Mostly the thing I'm talking about is the unique sound of Blues Traveler.
Yeah, for sure.
All the songs have that vibe. You can really tell right away. And I think it's just the mix of the guitar with the like incessant harmonica playing.
Sure, yeah.
I think that really adds to it. And I mean, John Popper has a very unique sounding voice. Like he's got just enough of that like it's like a cover in your voice, almost like Mayer-esque in terms of like the
Yeah, I hear what you're talking about.
in the voice. Obviously, he doesn't sound like John Mayer, but like just that quality of the voice, which is really good. Also, if you didn't know that John Popper is related to important 19th century European cellist David Popper.
Oh, interesting.
Which
I didn't know. I
Did
thought
you
you were
not-
going to go
are
with
you
like
not-
the philosopher Karl Popper.
no, I mean I don't think so. Maybe.
I mean, that's true. How many poppers do you know?
How many European cellists do you know?
That 0.
Well, now you know one.
No,
You know David
that's
Popper. But anyway, the album itself, it's good. It doesn't contain any of the songs that I instantly recognized as Blues Traveler. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. None of the songs were bad. The album ran a little longer than I kind of wanted. And by that, I mean, because the songs sound so Blues Traveler.
They're all clearly the same band.
Yeah, they're all clearly the same band. They don't all sound like the same song. It's not it's not like a bad thing, but this is like almost an hour long, and I feel like if it was closer to like the 45 minute mark, I would have been in like a more comfortable place listening to the whole thing.
Sure.
Just once I got to like the 50-minute mark and I still had like a whole song left, I'm like, all right. I'm feeling a little cooked towards Blues Traveler, and I still got 2 more albums to go.
Right.
However, that's a very unique to our podcast problem.
That's true.
That's a problem that I think the average listener won't have, because average listener, can stop listening to the music at any point.
Very true.
That's it. So I'll take us into 4. And instantly you get arguably their biggest hit. I mean,
I would
it's this or Hook, which is also on this album. But I would say Run Around is the big one.
I think so.
And I think you're instantly getting a kind of surprising jump in quality to me. As somebody who listened to the first album and thought how uniquely Blues Traveler it sounded and enjoyed the sound and thought this is what they sound like, the fact that 4 years later they're releasing this album, which just sounds tighter. That's kind of the best thing I can say, and it's a big compliment too. Like the sound is tight, and for a jam band, I think that's maybe the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly what I was saying about the first album with the improv-y feel of it, and I think it's just a few more years of this band playing together and then bringing that into this record.
Yeah, I think
they're
that's
just better as a group.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that Runaround and Hook are the 2 most popular Blues Traveler songs because they were released as the singles for this album.
Yeah, totally.
I really think that's the reason. I think the quality of this album, any one of these songs could have been the big hit. And I think it's just the songs they picked as singles caught on and became popular, and still are to this day.
Yeah.
But kudos, it's another good listen.
For sure. And I fully agree with pretty much everything you're saying is what my notes were. There's not really a gulf between the hits and the rest of the album. I totally agree. I felt like this is even stronger, but it still doesn't let go of that original feeling that the album had of like live recording and a really gelled rhythm section, and it feeling like everybody's just kind of getting together and playing live and feeding off of each other's energy. I think Hook is probably my favorite Blues Traveler song. What I really like is the harmonica solo in the middle. It does the thing that you don't expect. So you listen through the progression, right? The chord progression that's getting played underneath. And maybe it happens once if it's like a quick solo. But then if it's not once, you expect an even number, but they go through the progression 3 times with the harmonica solo in the middle, and you're like 3 times before they come back in. Shouldn't there be another one or one less? Um, but no, it works, and I really dig it.
I am
Um,
I am a sucker for 4 times. That's always like
yeah,
I
okay, two
I
or four.
try, and every once in a while I will like challenge myself when we're gigging to
Hmm.
try to come in on 3, and I
Okay,
always chicken out. I always chicken out and I don't do it. I I
fair enough.
can't.
I mean, we'll
Wh-
adjust.
Oh yeah,
We
of
always
course,
adjust.
but I always be like, I'm gonna just come in on 3. I'm just gonna be wild, and then I'm like, I can't. That's too crazy.
Yeah, I understand. Um, but that's what that was. That's that album. And I'm gonna get into Traveler Soul. This one's not on Apple Music. This one I had to go to YouTube for. Um, and so because it's not on Apple Music and because it doesn't have a Wikipedia page or anything, like I wasn't really prepping myself for this album ahead of time. Usually I start reading about the album, I look at the track listing, all that stuff as I'm putting it on, and I get an idea of what I'm, excuse me, getting into. I had no idea. And then the song came on, and it was Tired of Being Alone by Al Green. And then it
Yep.
fully connected for me. I was like, oh, this is an album full of soul covers or of
Yeah.
song covers that are done in a more soulful way than the original in certain cases. And I'll tell you,
It,
like, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
no, it was surprising to me too.
It was very
I'll let you
surprising.
give your opinion, but it was surprising
And
to me too.
it's it's not easy to bounce from Al Green to TLC to Ann Peebles, but, like, I kinda thought it was pretty solid. Like, I thought they did a good
I
job with it.
mean, I doubt
Um,
this is your 6 degrees, but shout out Ann Peebles.
I love Ann Peebles. And I think they do respect to I Can't Stand the Rain on this record, just like I thought they did a solid job with Tired of Being Alone and with Waterfalls even. They bring in a lot of guest vocalists on this album. John Popper still sounds very good, but they
Yeah.
do like a perfect job. I don't know if you agree with me. I think one of the greatest strengths of this album is the arrangement of the vocals into duets and harmonies between Popper and whoever they brought in to sing for a lot of these songs. I think they do it really well. Um, so I'm a
Yeah,
big
I
fan
actually
of the
do
vocals on
agree
this
with
album.
that.
Um, And, man, I was talking about how this is the kind of band that grooves together, that they're pretty locked in on the rhythm. I could, like, just live inside some of these slow grooves that they create on these songs. Like, I think it's really good. The longer I listened to this, like, at first it was kinda like, "Huh, I can't believe that this is what they're doing. Oh, wait, no, it's pretty good, actually." And by the end, I was fully bought in on this record. And I don't think it's crazy because, like, if jam you know, Blues Travelers and the jam band, like, sphere, they do a lot of that kind of transitioning between songs, extending solos, and that kind of thing. Like, if I was at a Blues Traveler concert, which I would happily attend if it if it was the right price and whatever, um, I would be psyched to hear one of these songs as a cover thrown in the middle of their set. I would think it was super cool. Uh, so I would love to hear some of their live stuff incorporating the songs that they've pulled in here. I think it was a cool direction for the band, and I hope that they like tastefully throw some of these covers into their live sets um, with their other original stuff.
Yeah, listen, I fully agree on all of that. Uh for me, I didn't recognize Fool for You, the first track, as a cover
Yeah,
right
right. I
away.
wasn't sure.
I did obviously recognize Tired of Being Alone as Al
Yeah.
Green. And then I was like, oh, well, I mean, it might just have been a cover. And then the rest of the album is originals. And then I hear Waterfalls come on. And I'm like,
Hmm.
Oh, this is a cover album. Let's buckle in. I was honestly very surprised. I mean, here's the thing. To play a little bit of devil's advocate, just because we're kind of waxing poetic, which is fun. It is an album full of covers. They didn't contribute lyrically to it. So, like, that is going to knock a little bit. And, you know, to get that out of the way. However, I thought that pretty much every cover they did here, with the exception of 2, I would almost like hold up against the original and maybe even prefer them at times. Like, I like their version of Waterfalls. I mean, obviously it's hard to top.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're talking about
TLC.
some pretty talented artists that we have talked glowingly about on the podcast, either by covering them or by, you know, just encountering them. As
but
other
I
covers
mean,
or whatever.
literally, other than 2 songs, I would be comfortable at least holding them up against the original and saying, like, this is a respectable
good,
job. I think the cover of We Can Work It Out is not as good as the original.
Sure.
There's a definitive drop off there. And I also think When a Man Loves a Woman, there's a definitive drop off. And that's nobody's fault other than the fact that, you know, Popper can sing.
He definitely can.
He could definitely sing. That requires like just a ton of vocal power. It's not just about hitting the notes. It's about feeling like a freight train behind those lyrics. Like Percy Sledge.
I mean, that's I know there are other famous versions, but that's the untouchable version.
It's the
original
version. It's
like,
the best version. I will say, like, another version that does a good job because of what I'm saying is the Michael Bolton version. And it's strictly because Michael Bolton, whenever he unleashes his vocals, sounds like there's like a gas-powered engine behind him. He's just got a lot of power.
Sure.
Say what you will about the tone of his voice. I know people like or don't like it. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about a song like When a Man Loves a Woman requires like a brick house.
You need like 3 or
you.
4 lungs worth of support.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very difficult song to do justice to. I've sang it a few times. It is a monster to sing.
Yeah.
But this album was a real surprise to me all the way through. It was impressive how many songs in how many different styles they could make sound like Blues Traveler.
Absolutely.
And I'm ready for some fun facts because I'm assuming you did your homework.
I did do my homework, although a lot of my homework runs together. Like a lot of it kind of is intra-categorical. Whether or not that's a word, I think you get my drift.
No, it's totally a word. I'm calling the Oxford Dictionary right now.
Okay, perfect. So for unique, I'll start there. I had 2 things I was thinking about. One is that they are allegedly David Letterman's favorite band, and he can only have one favorite band. And they do actually hold the record for the most appearances in the Late Show history.
Okay.
So that's kind of a cool little fact for Blues Traveler.
Yeah.
The other thing is they do Independence Day at Red Rocks. So this is a thing that they've been doing every single year since 1994, with the exception of like 2020. Blues Traveler always headlines Red Rocks on July 4th. And they like specifically use that show. It's like a big event show of the year for them, where they'll debut new songs that they've been writing, or they'll add deep cuts that they haven't played in 15 years to the rotation. And it's like always totally a very unique show. And they have it there. Like it's locked down every year at Red Rocks, July 4th, Blues Traveler.
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool, I think. So I'm going to jump into the highlight, and then I'm going to connect it into 6 Degrees. Like I could have easily gone with the album 4, which is like 6 times platinum. It was crazy successful, huge hits from it. And good for them. But I think they did something else that is really cool, and I want to put it together, which is the Horde Festival, HORDE.
Yeah.
And it ran for 7 years in the 90s, and then there was at least some amount of rebirth to it in the 2010s. But essentially the idea was like a lot of bands who were like at the mid-level were struggling at this time to tour in the summer because the huge artists would go on their summer tours and pack all the arenas, and they were like not quite in the space to do that. Like they could still do well, but they couldn't go to the big cities and try to compete against these artists that were pulling tens of thousands of people. So they got together with a bunch of other artists who were sort of at their level in their space. And I believe it was mainly Popper's idea to like put together a traveling tour of several bands to start booking the venues that would be large enough to bring in fans from like 3, 4, 5 different bands,
Can I guess
so they
one of
could
the
all
bands?
be successful. You may.
I've this is the first I'm hearing of this.
Sure.
Just based on your talking about it, was Fish one of these bands?
Yes. Yes, they
Yeah.
were. And so I was gonna say,
The
and
the reverence in your voice as you're starting to talk about it, I'm like, I bet you Fish was one of these
you're right.
bands.
But wait till you hear. I'm only going to mention the bands that were involved in this festival that we have already covered. But
Okay.
keep in mind there are dozens that have been in the festival over the years that we have not, probably the biggest of which being the Dave Matthews Band.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so other bands. The Allman Brothers, Beck, Bare Naked Ladies, Ben Folds 5, Government Mule, King Crimson, Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Fish, Rusted Root, Smashing Pumpkins, and Wilco.
Wow.
So all of those are bands of some level of import, some larger than others, but all definitely like worthy on the musical stage of history. Um, and all of them benefited from this Horde Festival that largely came from the mind of John Popper.
That's awesome.
So
Honestly,
that's a
that's
pretty
like
cool
such a
thing.
cool that is a really cool thing.
Um, and then I will throw in as the bonus 6 degrees, because that highlight kind of went into the 6 degrees, that in 1995, they got a big break and that they were able to play on Saturday Night Live as a last minute replacement for Prince, who had to cancel.
Wow. Okay.
Hmm.
Look at you.
I know. I
Now,
know.
before we get the grading, I just got to give
Oh,
my
I have a
little.
low light and a mean nice, thing.
Keep going,
Okay.
Nick. Keep
Sorry.
going. We got.
Yeah.
I remember. I didn't even remember we did
You didn't
notes,
even know that
yet alone
this was a
remembering
thing.
all the
Of course.
categories at
Of
this
course.
point.
I know. So I'm gonna for low light. I have two things. One, in 1999, their original bassist, Bobby Sheehan, died of an overdose.
I did know that.
And then while not dying, John Popper has had a lot of health problems over the course of the history of this band. He had a very serious motorcycle accident in 1992. And then to his credit, as soon as he was able, like he toured with the band in a wheelchair just to like keep getting to their show dates and performing. But in
Honestly,
it's crazy,
crazy.
right? Yeah. Although Zappa was recording albums and touring in a wheelchair too, if you remember from that episode when we did the Mothers of Invention. So it's weird that it's happened twice. It's weird that it happened at all, but it's very weird that it's happened twice.
If you had a nickel, you'd have
Yeah,
two nickels.
exactly. So in 1999, he had John Popper. Had a heart attack. He had like a 95% blockage in one of his arteries that led to this pretty severe issue for his health that stopped them. I think 99 might have been the other year since 94 that they didn't do the Independence Day thing. I knew it was 2020 and one other year for Popper's health. And then in 2016, he had several collapsed neck vertebrae from an injury. So like he's kind of had a rough time over the course of being the lead singer and harmonicist in Blues Traveler.
He confuses me.
Yes, he confuses me too. And that's sort of where my mean nice comes in. He's sort of weird and all over the place in his personal life. Like if you just look at some of his political endorsements,
That's
some
what
of them
I'm
look real
reading.
bad, and then others look a lot better. Like he was a Bush supporter in 2004, which is a major yikes. But then he switched to Obama and then switched to Ron Paul. and then he's also like referred to himself as a libertarian. Like
He
he's
referred
very
to himself.
confused and all over
Here's
the
my
place
thing.
as a politically, but he
Yeah.
has been involved in Rock the Vote,
Yes.
which is the positive that
But
you can pull out there.
my favorite political part about John Popper, he describes himself as a libertarian who is a Republican when pushed, who also at the same time supported and played at A Future to Believe in, the Bernie Sanders rally.
Yeah, which I don't. That's
So like let
those
me
things
just be
don't
clear.
make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
You can't call yourself any kind of Republican and support Bernie Sanders, who is
That
like
doesn't make
the
a lot of
anti-Republican.
sense. Yeah.
I'm very confused.
His whole personal life thing confused me. The only thing that made sense about it was that he chose to live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania for a while,
Yeah,
which is a lovely county to grow up in.
true.
Um, he's also had some legal trouble in his history. He's been arrested for possession of marijuana multiple
Smoking the
times.
devil's lettuce.
I know. We would never allow that on this
You would
podcast.
never
We're
allow
strongly
that to
against it.
happen.
But he's also been caught with like weapons, as well as marijuana. And he's also like a weird Twitter person, at least. He did dox someone who
Ooh.
was like kind of, I will say, I don't know the whole story, but it seemed like the person was harassing him via Twitter. And in response, like, you can't do that in response. Like, you can't do it. That's wrong. But both parties were also wrong in this particular situation. He's just a strange man. He's like, I can't parse apart who he is as a human being at all. And so he's had some things that seem like maybe slightly problematic, but has also like tried to do some things that are kind of good. So the complexity, the gray human that is John Popper, is the some sort of mean, some sort of nice
Yeah, that's fair.
blend for Blues Traveler. And that's all I got.
So I just got a little fun fact.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just a pretty unique thing. So Chan Kinchla, who is
What a name.
the guitarist for this band. Yes, Chan Kinchla, very normal name.
Yeah, totally.
He was like a semi-professional football player who then basically was also joined the band and then decided to just start playing music after he like blew out his knee, and then just latched on and became the guitarist for a pretty successful band.
I would agree.
Good on Chan.
Yeah, it was a smart move.
I just thought that was interesting. Of just like, what do you mean a semi-professional football player?
Yeah.
Unexpected from Chan Kinchla.
I would agree. That is very unexpected, but an interesting fact. And I think the time has come for us to grade these guys.
I think you may be right.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that Blues Traveler is going to have to start with a stronger grade here for cultural impact, because they have more than one famous song and Mudhoney has no famous songs.
Correct. I think you're on the right track.
And I also don't want to underestimate. I mean, I talked about the Horde Festival before. I think that what that does for music and a bunch of other artists in that space throughout the 90s when it was running is actually kind of an important part of 90s music history. Because it really does open up, especially the jam band space, which the jam band revival of the 1990s, bands like Dave Matthews and Fish end up having like a lot of success coming out of that space and selling gold and platinum records, as does Blues Traveler, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that is an impact on music history.
Listen, you're not going to get a disagreement from me. I'm fully with you.
So I think their numbers probably maybe in the twos.
It might even be a little higher than the twos.
I'm okay
I mean,
with that.
honestly, 2 bona fide hits with Hook and Runaround, and the Horde Festival. I might even say a 3.
Sure, I'll give him a 3. Mudhoney, I'm struggling a little bit. 0.5. Okay. All
It's
right.
not a 0.1 because
No,
they're
they're
at
not.
least critically
And I've
accepted.
heard of them before we started the pod. Like, I didn't know the
Yeah.
songs, but the name, I would have been like, oh, they're a band, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think 0.5 works.
okay. How many albums did Mudhoney have?
How did Canned Heat not play the Horde Festival as a jam band styled festival?
Can't he? I don't know, because they were a blues band from the 60s.
I feel like they just should. I feel like they should still be around. I
I
feel like
mean,
Canned Heat should
well, didn't
be eternal.
one of their guys' main singers is in the 27 Club. Alan Wilson, I want to say his name is Alan something
Yeah,
for sure.
but I just whenever I think of Canned Heat, I just think of a band that like is still around and still plays today.
That's interesting that you feel that way.
I'm looking it up. They are still
Okay.
active today. I was
Okay,
right.
fair enough. But obviously not with all the original members.
They apparently they're releasing or have released an album in 2024.
Okay.
That's crazy. Hold on. We're
All right. I mean, we can look into this.
It's called Final Vinyl, and final is spelled like vinyl.
Okay.
So
We probably just
FINYL.
missed out on that when we covered them back in season 1.
By a few years, but yeah.
Yeah,
Final Vinyl released in 2024.
that's right.
It did not chart or
I
has
am
not
shocked.
been released. There is no Wikipedia page for it.
I cannot believe it, truly. All right. We need album numbers.
Oh
Blues
yeah, we
Travel
should keep.
listed.
We should.
I'm
keep
looking.
going.
They have what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 studio albums. And if I can ever get my other spreadsheets to load,
I'm sure
then
they'll be able to figure that out.
yeah, I'm working on it. Okay, so they start with 15 albums, 6.1 points. What does Blues Traveler have in terms of total albums? And by Blues Traveler, I mean Mudhoney, because I just figured
Mudhoney
that
has
out.
11 studio albums.
Excellent. So they will be starting with 5.8 points. And then, does Mudhoney get any points for sales?
Mudhoney gets no points for sales because
Do
they
lose
have
points
no
for sales?
certified. They have no certified albums.
Okay.
I think
Then-
we move them from a 5.8 to a 5.5.
Done.
And then
now
I think
you
we
get to
move
give
them from a 5.5 to at least a 5.2.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I'm going to move them to a 4.9.
Yeah,
I'm also
like
going
I'm
to take
taking
0.3
away 0.3 points.
Yeah, strongly did not enjoy listening to any of the albums.
Yeah, it was rough. It would have been a full nine. It would have been a -4 for me if Little Dogs didn't exist.
Yeah, it's a strong save to have Little Dogs.
The last song on their last album saved a whole -1 for me.
I mean, they should be pleased, I would hope. So Blues Traveler is a different story. They started their career with 3 gold albums. 4 is 6 times platinum and 2 times Canadian platinum. And the follow-up, Straight On Till Morning, is also platinum. So that is confirmed at least minimum 8.5 million just in the United States. I think it's safe to venture that this is a band that's between 10 and 15 million records sold worldwide. I think they're getting a bump up a little bit here.
Yeah, just a bit. They have enough certifications to warrant a bit of an increase here.
Mhm.
Usually 2 golds is what keeps you the same. So we're talking a few platinums. I think you maybe take them from a 6.1 to a 6.3.
And it's already done. And now this time, I am going to go... I'm going to go all the way. I am rounding up to a 0.3 in the positive direction for Blues Traveler. I'm going to get them to a 6.6.
Cool. And I'm going to, oh man. I was going to give them a 0.2 to make it a 6.8, but giving them a 6.9 is the nice number. So I'm going to give them a 0.3.
Excellent. And then we move
very
on
scientific here.
It is. Instrumental Town, I'm already feeling a gulf here.
Yeah,
I'm feeling like
agree.
one band was clearly going to come out of this above a 5, and another band was clearly going to come out of this below a 5.
Well, hold on. Here, let's In Mudhoney's defense,
Of course.
they can't sing,
No.
but they can't play guitar, but they can't play bass.
Okay.
Furthermore, the drums are fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I I was
In
underwhelmed.
conclusion, I think the number we're looking for is in the threes.
I was gonna say I might be willing to give them like a 3.
Yeah, a
I don't
three
wanna
is
go much higher than that unless you feel
honestly
strongly.
a three is totally fine.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where this genre makes it a little tougher to diagnose
Mhm.
because part of it involves sucking,
Yeah, it does.
which
You're right. You're right. It is an intentional part of their sound to make a statement.
yeah.
I agree. But at the
So
same
it's hard,
time,
but
we're
it's not
only
pleasant.
judging like professional musicians against professional musicians. So like a
Yeah,
3 on this podcast is still better than what a lot of people who aren't professionals are doing.
true. Although, really, is it?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Blues Traveler, on the other hand, John Popper is an above average vocalist for sure. He
Yeah,
is, I would
an excellent
say, like
harmonica
a
player.
virtuosic harmonica player.
Yeah,
And I think the rest of the band is very, very solid and locked in. And I would say at least a little bit above average for just their ability to mesh with each other, to play off of each other super well. It's not just straightforward okay. Like it's good. This is a good band.
yeah. This is a band that you, as the average listener, can really feel their pocket in a way that I
Mhm.
think a lot of bands. I think you can hear melodies and stuff like that, but I think it takes kind of a musician to really hear the pocket of a lot of other bands. I don't think
Especially
this
you
is the
hear it
case for
with
this one. I think you
yeah,
really feel the groove of this
and that's
band
why
the
I
entire
was
way
kinda
through.
harping on them, and almost feeling like this had to be recorded live because 'cause we've
Sure.
heard like, there are times when we listen to, like, the Tedeschi Trucks Band, and you're like, "This had to be a recorded live, the way
Yeah.
that they're gelling together." I think they had that feel to them.
Yeah. I mean, the question is, what number are we looking at here? Are we looking in the sixes?
I think so. That was my instinct. I'm okay, like a 6.2-ish or something like that, I think is
I
fair.
think a 6-2 is perfect. I think that's a good
Mhm.
representation of the many faceted skills
Yes.
of Blues Traveler.
And then we get to songwriting, and I will say this for Mudhoney. Much like Blues Traveler, they cut out a swath of sound for themselves that was their own, and it was
Grunk,
identifiably theirs. Their grunk sound, it felt
garage
like
grunk.
them. Yeah. Um, I thought the songs were extremely, like, simple and sloppily played, or not particularly interesting musically. So that's the negative here.
Yeah, no, it certainly is a part of the negative there. The question is, how
I
many
think it's
points
I think it's a
does?
higher score than their instrumental talent because I'm trying to give them credit
Yeah,
for
but it's not much. I mean,
right, exactly.
it's not a 4.
No, it's still in the 3s.
Yeah,
And I'm not even
let's be
arguing,
clear.
like, that it's like a 3.9 or anything. I just think it's a little bit better than their
So we'll
instrumental
give
talent.
them a 3.5.
Uh, that is plenty.
I feel generous today. We'll give
Yeah.
them a 3.5.
Now Blues Traveler, other side of that coin, well, not even really. It's half of the same coin and half of a different coin. They also very clearly have established something that has their own sound. The difference is, I think that the songs that they write were actually compelling
Yeah, I agree.
and good. So this is a band that I'm thinking of as more of in the fives, but definitely above average.
Yeah, I think to play a little bit of, as I mentioned before, the devil's advocate for this band, there is a tendency for it to sound a bit
The
samey.
same. hmm I agree with
So
you.
if you're listening in succession over and over again to this band, it's going to bleed together a bit. So that's for me. That's why it's staying in the fives as opposed to
Yeah.
moving up
Oh,
into the
yeah.
low
I'm totally fine with it
sixes.
being in the fives. That was my
So
goal.
what about like a 5-7?
Sure, I think that's plenty. And then you get to poetic talent, and
And
we've
one
already
band
kind of
has some, and one band has none.
yeah. I mean, we already talked about the fact that there are some like agreeable and good messages behind the Mudhoney songs, but the
Yes,
actual lyrics, they don't strike me as good lyrics.
they're not. And that's the thing is it's like I can't even give you points for agreeing with your message because that's just fully a personal thing.
Mhm.
Because but the lyrics I just feel like are more objective.
Sure.
Like I would rather hear something I don't like done well than hear something I like done very poorly.
Sure. I
And that's
understand
just
that.
kind of what it boils down to. Like I want to at least hear talent.
Yeah, I get
I
that.
don't just want to hear you agreeing with me politically or
Mhm.
socioeconomically. I want like not in music. I want to hear that in life. I want to hear a politician
Sure,
agree
yeah, we
with
could talk
me
right.
in
It'd be
terms
nice to
of politics and socioeconomic status and things like that. But like in terms of my music, it's a bonus if you write songs that I can relate to on that level.
Sure.
But I also feel like there needs to be like talent in
Something
the
else
writing.
there, yeah. Now, I agree this is not a good score.
It's not a good score at all. In fact, I would argue it's their lowest score.
And even lower than the 0.5 for cultural impact?
Oh, fine. It's not lower
It's
than
their
that.
lowest
You're
score
right.
aside from that, yeah.
It's their lowest score aside from that,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
fine.
I'm in like the twos.
Yeah,
and I
that's what I
feel
was
really.
thinking.
I'm like a 2-3 maybe.
And I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
And then Blues Traveler, I mean, like, here's the thing. A lot of them are fast and difficult to understand, but I do think that they're interesting and above average. I think there are moments in their lyrics that strike me as, oh, that's kind of cool. That's clever. That's a cute little thing that they did there. And there weren't really moments where I was like, I don't know about that.
Yes.
So
Just here's where we got to just mention the fact that we did
oh, they did have a cover album, but I mean,
album.
they started their career with like 13 or 14 albums of original music, though. So that
Yeah.
covers the threshold of 6 albums of original music.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was clicking through other albums by Blues Traveler.
Mhm.
I just need you to hear the group of people that are on this album.
Okay.
This album is
Oh,
called
Warren
Blow Up.
Haynes played on one of their albums too, and I forgot to mention it. Warren
This
Haynes, of
is
course, from Government Mule and also
yeah.
Allman Brothers at the time.
Yeah, this is not that.
Okay.
This is an album called Blow Up the Moon, which came out in 2015,
Okay.
featuring such artists as 303,
What?
JC
No.
Chazé, Hanson, Plain White Tees, Secondhand Serenade, Jewel, Bowling for Soup, and also actor Thomas Ian Nicholas, who was in American Pie. And I guess
What?
also a kid in King Arthur's Court, if you want to go back that far.
Fascinating.
Just an extremely wacky list of
That is
featured
super
artists.
wacky. I don't want to know about some of those songs. And
I
and luckily I'm in control of that. I don't have to listen
oh
to them
yeah,
now that I know they
certainly
exist.
not gonna add Blow Up the Moon to any Best of the Rest.
No.
I'm fine. I would listen to I would listen to the one featuring Hanson because they're sneakily very good.
I mean, I would listen to that, but not
I,
JC Chazé
no, or anything
303.
with 303 in it.
Nah, no thanks.
I would also probably avoid the Secondhand Serenade one because like
I don't even know what that is, so.
you have heard Secondhand Serenade. I promise you.
Okay. I believe you.
I think there.
I take it that it's something that I would not enjoy.
I want to say, I really was hoping that their big song. I think it's "Fall for You."
Yep, I'm looking at their
'Cause
wiki right now.
tonight would be the night that I would fall for you over again. It was very popular in our.
Okay, maybe if I heard the studio album, it would
I
click.
feel like I nailed it. I feel like
I'm sure that you did, but I just didn't recognize it.
Yeah, it was
And I'm
very
sorry for that.
popular in like the MySpace era.
Okay,
So like think like 7th to 10th grade.
gotcha. Okay, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it has not given me a score for the poetic talent of Blues Traveler, which I think is just in the 5 somewhere again.
It's like a 5.
I'm arguing that it's over a 5. I think
Yeah. I meant like, yeah, I'm sorry. I meant like a number in the fives. I didn't mean
yes.
like literally a 5.
Okay, gotcha. I was arguing more for like a 5-3 or 5-4.
And I think a 5-4 works well.
Okay. Now, what is the X factor for Mudhoney? Where are they going to pull 5 points here?
Oh, they're going to pull 0 points actually,
Okay,
and not
perfect.
be an X factor at all.
Okay, Blues Traveler. We talked about Horde for their cultural impact, but it's worth mentioning, and also them having the record for the most performances on the Late Show might be worth the 0.1. But other than that, I got nothing.
I think we give them a 0.3. 2 points for the Horde,
Okay.
point two
Yes.
for the Horde,
Right.
0.1 for the Late Show.
All right. Well, I have final scores then, and you are not going to believe who won tonight.
Oh, I'm so ready to find out.
If you're playing the drop, I can't hear it.
I'm looking for the drop.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do this one. That's what I got.
Okay, that works. All right, simmer
It's
down.
very long.
Simmer down now. It was the band that won every category was the one that ended up winning. Believe it or not, it was
The
Blues
full
Traveler.
The clean sweep.
The clean sweep. They won every single category, including X Factor. Blues Traveler wins this week with a 27.5 overall. And in a very close second, losing every category, is Mudhoney with a 14.2.
That's the appropriate reaction for that.
It is. So make sure to come back next week when both bands that are featured will be primarily from the 90s, as that is the half
Spoilers.
season theme.
Spoiler alert.
Yes.
Good. Honestly, I'm glad we're back in the swing.
It's nice.
It's nice. We
It's
did
been
it.
fun.
And 3 out of the 6 albums were good listens this
That's
week.
true. That's true.
Honestly,
We can only hope that it goes up from there.
Yeah, there are worse statistics that we've run into.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times when it's like 1 out of 6 albums was good.
We've gone anywhere between 0 for 9 and 9 for 9 in the history of the show. On
It's
recent
true.
seasons, 0 for 6 to 6 for 6.
All true. Still think that was one of the best decisions we made, was going from 3 guys to 2.
To 2. It does.
Oh.
It does bring a little more intrigue to the matchup.
Yeah. Oh no. What am I reading?
I don't know. Do we need to tack it on to the end? Is it very important? Is it something we missed?
Oh no, it's just something about the Eagles.
Oh, well.
The Philadelphia
Fishpotch.
Eagles, not the band Eagles.
Right. That makes sense.
All right. Well, listen. I think what you all need to do, since this is the season of the 90s, go break out your Furbies, your Tamagotchis. Get ready for Y2K.
I was going to say pop open a crisp can of Surge Cola.
Yes.
Or Surge, whatever the soda is.
It's green. I know that.
Yeah.
It's very
Have
green.
some Dunkaroos.
Oh, have some Dunkaroos. Oh my gosh. Remember the Dunkaroo dip, girl?
That's not a tale for the end of the podcast.
It's a tale to leave them guessing.
Exactly.
As long as we all remember the Dunkaroo dip, girl.
Uh-huh.
Everybody think about Dunkaroo dip and have a great day.
Holy cow, I gotta pee.
Right.
All right, what's the Birds news?
CJGJ is injured.
Another practice injury?
He
Or
played
is
every
it the
snap of the
hand?
game. It's
Because
his foot.
I was going to say, I mean, he visibly hurt his hand during the game.
Yeah, he's sat practice with a foot injury. He hasn't been ruled out or anything yet. But
Well, I mean, it's not like the Saints are having any success on offense.
look, I just want to beat them. I just want to beat them because they beat the Cowboys, and I just want to beat them. Like a fluky Monday Night Football loss to the Falcons is one thing. Like, we definitely lost that game more than I would ever say
They won it.
they won it.
That was fucking awful.
Oh, it was atrocious. But, what can you do?
I know. It's made me rethink whether or not I should be staying up for Sunday and Monday Night Football games.
It was brutal.
I mean, like, that's the problem, though, because as soon as I put it on, my body will be like this. But every play, every time the ball is snapped, my heart's just like, oh, anxiety, 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 get back up. And I'm just like, no, let me sleep. No, they're snapping again. Uh-oh, he's on the run.
I legitimately felt like nauseous. I watching that third down where the play worked. Say what you will about how stupid it was to pass the ball there.
It worked. If
It
Saquon
worked. And I mean, I can't even sit there and blame Saquon. Like,
because he
should
otherwise
Saquon have
had the
caught
team
that
on his
ball?
back.
Yes. Does Saquon catch that ball 99 times out of 100? Yes.
Is the team even in that position without Saquon playing the way he
No.
did before, though? So,
like, Saquon and Jalen Hurts, like, took charge in the second half.
it was so nice to see.
Jalen Hurts was running all over the place, making the throws. It was great. And like people are blaming him because of the pick at the end. I'm like, no.
Which was just a dumb decision, but I mean, he also put them in that place before that, and
yeah,
the defense
it was a bad
screwed up.
decision. Don't get me wrong. It's a decision. It's a position we never should have been in.
It was also not a good route by Devontae. He should not have been that far from the sidelines at that point in the game.
And I would argue it might even have been a miscommunication. It was,
yeah, could have been.
Regardless.
Yeah.
Like, that loss falls squarely on the defense who let Kirko Chains.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we didn't feel the defense at the end of the game. They were.
I mean, it was bad enough that they couldn't play any run defense for the first 3 quarters as well.
Right.
But.
Well, I mean, but Bijan didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, they kept him out of the end zone.
Like, they did bend, don't break, and it worked. But it was just brutal. It was just, I mean, how do you let... I couldn't believe how quickly they just marched down the field.
I know.
It was like 4 plays, and they're throwing in the end zone. I'm like... They had no
Slay
timeouts.
just totally blew that coverage.
Yeah, Slay absolutely dropped that coverage. It was bad. I mean, it was a very poor defensive effort.
Yeah.
That was like the real bit.
Like, if they don't bounce back and look way better against the Saints, then people are going to be like, oh, they never really got out of that funk that they went into last year. And it's still the same old team that has all this talent, but actually plays football like the worst team in the league.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I truly think that if we lose to the Saints, and if we open the season like 2-6,
Sirianni's got to be gone.
Sirianni's gone.
Totally gone.
Like, at that point, Sirianni's gone, and it's interim head coach Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, that just is what it is. I think if this team wants to play to their level, and I mean, granted, we didn't have AJ.
Yeah, sure.
Which he's obviously a huge piece to not have.
But you got to be able to overcome missing.
And we did. We overcame
for a while.
Like,
What's really frustrating is that there is no one out there besides Devontae.
Yeah.
I mean, like Jahan Dotson, what a waste of a trade. He looks awful. He doesn't do anything. I
They're
mean,
just not using him. They're not
yeah.
throwing him the ball.
I mean, Covey, they've been trying to get into the action,
They
and
fed him. I mean, did he have 10 receptions?
He definitely had quite a few, but
He might have had 10 receptions. He had too many.
yeah, exactly. Like I understand you want to try to put the ball in his hands on a screen and try to see what he can do. See if he can get some of that punt return action, but that can't be like the only passing play that you run that's not to Devontae.
Yeah, let's see. He had, in all of 2023, he had 4 receptions for 42 yards. On Monday Night Football, he had 6 receptions for 23 yards.
Yeah, exactly. 6 receptions for 23 yards.
3.8 yards.
Is that indicative of a good offense?
No, it's certainly not. I just don't know why they were running it through Covey instead of Jahan Dotson as the 2.
I don't.
Why was Covey playing the 2? And like, is the fact that they traded for him late? Is he just not fully versed on the playbook yet?
Yeah, I don't know.
It was so weird to me because Jahan Dotson is very talented.
Yeah, but that hasn't really accounted for too much. He has a good game every once in a while when he's against the Eagles.
That's true.
But that's about it.
Well,
maybe they just need to trade him. I don't know, to a team that they will never play. If there a good player out there who could only be good for the Eagles, who sucks for everyone else, that they could trade him to for someone who's only good against the Eagles.
I'm sure they exist.
No.
Let's try to get like Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, that I would be okay with that.
Let's get Jackson Smith and Njigba.
Yes. Yeah, especially if you're going to throw all those stupid fucking 2-yard or less routes.
Yeah, I mean,
like you can do it once in a while, but it's such a huge part of their offense in a way that like everyone knows it's coming. And if everyone knows that play's coming, it doesn't work. There's just no world where those little bubble screens work when the defense knows what to expect.
The bubble screen can absolutely work. But you can't be throwing it to Britton Covey when you have Saquon Barkley.
Sure, but I mean, my point is just that they ran it so many times, so ineffectively, over and over again last year, and then in that game, it was not working for them.
Yeah,
at some point you have to have other passing plays to open that up.
Well, it honestly just felt to me like the wide receivers weren't opening the field. Devontae was getting open because he's a phenomenal route runner, typically, except for that last play. But the wide receivers weren't pulling the safeties up. So it just felt like the whole field was tight for the Birds.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's like, yeah, that works when you have like a generational running back who can break through, and when you have your quarterback rushing and breaking through. But you need to open the field up so those things aren't the only things you're relying on.
Yep.
Like
they just weren't afraid of them being able to.
Can't be Jalen Hurts taking hits.
Yeah. Without Brown on the field, they just were not worried about the offense being able to stretch the field on any given play.
Yeah. The only thing that like made me feel better was I didn't notice Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, that's true.
Which after
he had like 3 of those penalties. 3 of that illegal player downfield or whatever. I think he had at least 3.
That is just a penalty that, like, I mean,
every team is getting it.
They really like kind of clamped down on it this year, and
if you're running an option,
that penalty when you're running options because
that's the trick, because it's made option offense a lot harder.
Yeah,
because if you just don't know what you are blocking for or what's happening behind you,
it's tough because then you got to really just let the defense come to you.
Exactly.
I don't know. Hopefully the Birds just win. I know we're playing each other this week. I changed my name.
Did you? Are you a goose?
I'm not a goose. I would have loved to do that, but I wanted to go with a name that wasn't just dependent on your name.
Fair enough.
And I found a picture that I thought really went with it.
Okay. Burgermeister.
Oh, it's Burgermeister Meisterburger.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh man, what a
And
week.
it's hard to tell.
It is gonna be close.
I know. It's hard to tell because the picture is small.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you right now, that cheeseburger that I have as my picture looks like Steve Harvey.
Interesting. Very
I
interesting.
stand by it. That is the Steve Harvey of cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Huh. It's a phrase you don't hear that often.
How are you also questionable now?
That's been my whole life.
God. Literally, Evan Engram, who I dropped, who has been he
well, the whole Jaguars have been.
Yeah, he played like shit in week 1, didn't play week 2, is probably not playing week 3. So I picked up Mike Gesicki for him.
Good pick.
Who is now questionable. I literally had Dalton Schultz and Evan Engram both questionable.
Of course.
Then I dropped Evan Engram because he got questionable, but his
thing went down.
His projection went down to zeros, which means he's almost definitely not playing. And he's the Monday night game, so I was like, I'll pick up Gesicki, who's also the Monday night game. Well, the other Monday night game.
Yeah.
But, there's something there. Now he's also questionable. So, like,
you hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
My tight end strategy ended up working out.
Yeah. Honestly.
It worked out. Like, Brock Bowers, man, looks good.
Brock Bowers is going to break the reception record.
He looks real good.
He's going to get 125.
I sure hope so. That would be excellent news for me.
Who else? Gardner Minshew ain't chucking the ball enough to Devontae.
Sure.
It's just all Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever. They're Raiders be raiding.
They do. And they've got a tough matchup this week against the Carolina Panthers. Oh, that might be tough. So hopefully he manages to catch the passes. Well, now that I had him and then immediately dropped him, but just picked back up Adam Thielen because now that Andy Dalton, I know can throw the football. Like he might be like good for 225 yards and a touchdown and a pick on an average on a weekly basis or something like that. Like he's not going to ever be good, but he's not going to ever be 70 yards and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Bad.
Well, the question is, as we're finding out, the Panthers are bad for quarterbacks.
Yes.
The Panthers are the Jets of quarterbacks because the Jets are also the Jets of quarterbacks.
Sure.
Like Sam Darnold is looking like
the Bears
prime
of
Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Once you got him, out because he went right from New York to Carolina, and that was just bad to worse. Then you get him over to San Fran, where he only played limited, but he played well when he came in.
And now he's starting for me.
I mean, honestly, he's balling.
Yeah.
I hope he does not ball this week.
Of Tua, I mean.
Oh, sad.
I know.
I mean, he can't play again, right?
I mean, everything that I'm seeing is Tua has no intention to retire. He's on IR, and there's no time frame for when he would be back. But they are he is not saying, okay, I think I'm out. He's like, no, when I'm ready, I'm going back.
Yeah. I'm not saying Tua's going to make the decision to retire.
Oh, he should. If I was his friend, I would tell him to retire.
Yeah, I'm saying Tua's family or he's 26 years old.
Yeah. If you were Tua Tagovailoa, I would be like, hey, man, Real
hang
talk.
it up.
You got to hang it up. Like, it's not going to be worth it. You've
Especially
already
since
got
out of
so much
his like
money.
4 or 5 major head injuries he's had in the NFL, at least 2 or 3 of them contained like heavy levels of posturing, which is like the symptom of like a traumatic brain injury, like a high level concussion, like, or worse. Like that
Yeah.
last one, the one he had, he literally went down and then was like full on like pot, like that's what the like this move, like this is what his arm was doing.
Yeah.
And it's like that's your brain like failing. Like who had it? The tight end for like the backup tight end for the Chargers, I think it was.
Okay. I
Like
think
a
I
couple of
remember
years
that.
ago. He got smacked in the end zone
Yeah.
and had a full on like his arms were doing like this move. It's scary, man.
Yeah.
It's a scary situation. So like
Absolutely.
I don't know. I truly hope that his support system can convince him to do the right thing. Because I like
agree.
Tua.
Yeah. No, I don't want to see the guy ruin his life.
No, I certainly don't want to. And I like the scary part is like he might have already.
Yeah.
Like that's the
For
scariest
sure.
part
Yeah.
about
You
it.
don't know at this point.
Like 4
You
or
know it's going to
5
have an
major
effect down the
concussions.
road. You just don't know how soon
Right.
or
And
how
like
bad.
the question is like if you stop now, maybe you take it easy. Maybe you avoid some of the more egregious symptoms. And you know, I'm sure he's gonna have to be on medicine and stuff for it moving forward.
Yeah.
Or like in like as he gets older.
Yeah.
So it's
You hate
just
to see it.
you certainly hate to see it. Just one of many, many, many injuries this season. I am so glad I didn't draft first overall, though.
Yeah.
Although,
But
honestly,
who were you?
probably not, because in
Would
your
you have
league,
taken McCaffrey?
no, in your league, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have. In your league, I still would have taken a quarterback. I probably still
Yeah.
would have taken Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, so
That's a
realistically,
fair
like,
choice.
but in Jared's league, so glad I didn't have the first overall pick because I would have taken CMC.
Sure. Yeah, and I hope that he does well. He just takes it easy. He takes the full season to recover. And he just takes
It's
care of
not
himself.
out of the realm, dude. I mean, Achilles tendonitis is not something that you just like are better from. Achilles tendonitis is very much like even when you're cleared, you're like 60% for like a few weeks, and that like it's tough.
Yeah, and I wish him all the best, and I hope he takes a long paid vacation.
Well, especially with the Niners being the Niners, if you assume, as I think everybody does, that the Niners will make the playoffs this year, they could very much be in a situation where they're like, you're going to come back like week 15.
Sure.
You're going to rest your body. You're going to get 100%. And then you're going to
right
get your
in time for
conditioning
the
back
fantasy
up.
Super Bowl.
Well, I hope not for your sake, unless you're facing me, and then
Yeah.
I hope so for your sake.
Of course.
But like, just like in terms of like it could really be that long where they just rest him and then condition him up, because I think of even more dangerous than a lot of weapons in the playoffs would be fresh Christian McCaffrey.
For sure.
Fresh
Who
legs
hasn't been
and
hit all
healthy.
season, yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
I agree.
So we'll see.
All right, I gotta go make some dinner.
You should do that. You should go make some dinner.
Yes. And weird. We don't have a gig or anything this weekend, so it's not like I'll see you Saturday.
No, I'll never
I
see you
hope
again.
we can practice sometime soon. I hate all these non-gig weeks. I'd like to play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to set up some time to practice. This Saturday I probably can't because it's Sydney's dad's birthday, so we're going out to dinner and stuff and doing all that.
That's fine.
But
maybe one of these weekends.
Yeah, I mean, we got a few weekends off. We'll set something up.
For sure.
I think Mason said his basement was almost done, so.
All right, good. Okay, and then and Jackie will be, well, it doesn't matter right now, but she'll be on Today's by the end of October, so.
which is good.
Then we won't have to worry about like we can't do it here either because
Yeah,
it's a
you don't
night
want to
that
wake her
she's
up.
sleeping. Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
excellent. Just another
yes,
reason that is an excellent move.
exactly.
Mostly for her, but
Yeah,
also for
but
us.
also for us, added bonus. All right.
All right. Go live your
Adios.
dreams. Adios. All right. Well, I don't think anybody joined us. And if you did, you didn't comment. And so therefore, I'll tell you goodbye. Have a good day. Live your dreams.